Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mortuary. I am the Mortician. And today, I'm very excited to bring you Nile albums ranked. So I'm only doing their main discography, only the main 8 albums. All the EPs and splits and compilations and stuff like that are being left out of this, so let's get right into this. At number 8, we have At the Gates of Sethu. I think this has got to be their weakest for a couple of reasons. The mixing job is pretty good, but really, honestly, where it all falls apart is it's just so much more of the same when it comes to this record, and I mean that like every song pretty much sounds super similar to each other. I should say that I like individual songs off this one, but as a whole album, I really do not think it works. At number 7, we have Untitled. I actually really like this album. I should say that I like all of these albums, but Untitled I think ranks at number 7 simply because I think that all the first few songs really bleed together, and that's what this really comes down to, because all these albums are really done really well in my opinion. Yeah, we really have to get nitpicky, and I just feel like this record, the start of this record gets super boring, and it gets a little bit more boring as it goes on. At number 6, we have Those Whom the Gods Detest. I actually really like this album. I rank this higher than Anihilation, even though I feel like this record, for being as good as it is, I feel like a lot of the songs just last a little bit too long. It's a really long album. It feels long. There are only 2 songs under 5 minutes. And you might say, well, what's wrong with that? More Nile, right? Well, sure, to an extent, but there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. Things start to get repetitious. Things start to get a little dull to listen to. Still a great album, it's very enjoyable. Next we have What Should Not Be Unearthed. I really like this one. This has probably my favorite individual songs. Like, I love Call to Destruction and Evil to Cast Out Evil. I think are amazing songs. Once again, it comes down to I don't think these songs mix too well together. I think it's a great album. Once again, I think all these albums are great. But getting nitpicky, some of these songs just don't belong. At number 4, we have Annihilation of the Wicked. Now, you might recall last week where I actually put this on top, I think it was actually in the top 5 death metal albums of all time. I have a little bit of explaining to do. The reason I picked Annihilation of the Wicked for that is specifically because I had to be more objective. This whole thing right here is more subjective. This is what I think of the Nile album. It's not what I think other people should think, if that makes sense. So I think that Annihilation is a great record, which is why it's at number 4. Still a good spot, but I prefer the atmospheric stuff, which we'll get into with number 3, Amongst the Catacombs of Nephren Ka. I fucking love this record. When I bought this record, I spun that vinyl so much. I'm surprised it still works. That's how often I played this record, because I actually bought it during the summer, so I play it on repeat over and over and over again. It's such a good fucking album. At number 2, we have Black Seeds of Vengeance. It's very similar to Amongst the Catacombs, has a lot of the same elements and the same feel, so there's not really much to say about it. I just think it's done just a little bit better. I'm talking about like super micron thing kind of shit that it does better. And at number 1, we have In Their Darkened Shrines. The reason I put this at number 1 is because it has so many of the elements of Black Seeds of Vengeance and Amongst the Catacombs of Nephren Ka, but it has such a much better mixing job, and I feel like the drums are just impeccable. I just was amazed at the drummer they had. It's not George Callias on this record, but the drummer they had for In Their Darkened Shrines, I have no idea why it didn't work out. This definitely has some of the best drum fills and some of the best drum beats on any of these records. And of course, the mixing job is tighter. As I was saying in my top 10 video, I really like to follow the lyrics of, albums if I like them enough. Of course, you can't really do that with Amongst the Catacombs of Nephren Ka and Black Seeds of Vengeance, because the vocals are mixed in a manner that makes it really muddy and not clear, but Shrines fixes that problem. And the intermissions are great. They work really well for breaking up this album, and it's like super amazing riffage and drumming. So yeah, that's what I think. Have you listened to them? What's your favorite Nile album? Thank you guys for watching. Please remember to subscribe and like. Mortician. Peace out.